NorCal. 209 King of Comedy. It's Rick without the K. James presents, in my opinion, podcast.
All right, you guys. Last topic, we're going to make it a little more personal about us, right? Is because I think all of us here have kids.
That we know of.
Right. I think all of us have biracial children.
Yes.
So after talking about all this racial shit, right? It's what do you guys want to be left as your legacy for your kids when it comes to racial stuff? I'll go first. My kids know that I'm racist across the board, right? If I talk shit about white people, I talk shit about black people. I talk probably the most shit about Latinos because I'm one, so I feel like I can do that. And I want my kids to see the truth behind the bullshit. I want them to, if you don't know about something, look up the education. I think education for me is first and foremost the best way to teach your kids as well as yourself and anybody else. This is the same reason why I wanted to put together this episode to talk about shit. Is I want my kids to know if you don't have the answer, go find it. Believe me, I grew up with encyclopedias, motherfucker. All you got to say is Siri, what is, and you'll get the goddamn answer. So look it up, okay?
For Wikipedia, put encyclopedias out of business.
So I just hope for my kids, when it comes to their future, they kind of don't see color lines, and more so, I think that if something negative or bad is happening in front of them, that they realize their dad is the type that, to speak up and say something, and they know that their dad is outspoken regardless of what the fucking situation is. And I think for me, that's what I want for my kids. I think if they see someone get pulled over and fucking get Floyd with, we'll use that term, then I hope that they're one of the people that step in and make sure shit like that doesn't happen. Because if it's not right for you, then it shouldn't be right for somebody else as well. So I'm going to let you go first, Charlie. And what is it that you hope that your kids, see in the future?
Well, particularly with my oldest son, he's seen a lot of my stand-up, and that when I get backlash, it's usually for racial jokes.
Oh, okay.
So I think what he can see as my example is just because you think something is funny or interesting doesn't mean you have the right to say it without doing the research. And the effect of what you're saying isn't based on how you feel about it. It's based on what it could inspire out of others. And I'll give you an example. So when the whole Black Lives Matter movement really gained steam a few years ago, I should point this out, I'm wearing, this is my favorite thing to confuse people with. It's a military Kaepernick jersey. So people don't know what I'm talking about. If I'm wearing, it says Kaepernick, but it's got American flags all over it. They're just very confused by its existence. But I used to tell this joke on stage that I don't really tell anymore. But it was about how, as a white person, I agree with most of the politics of Black Lives Matter. What you guys lack is an adorable mascot. So, black people, you're welcome. I came up with one for you. He is a black rights dinosaur activist named Malcolm Rex. And then I do this impression of Malcolm Rex trying to put up the Black Power fist, but he has tiny arms. So I'm just standing there in front of people with a little tiny arm. And to me, that's funny, and it's so silly that I'm not thinking about it putting down a race. I'm just focusing on, this is a funny image. It's a funny play on words. There obviously weren't,
You got backlash on that?
I got backlash.
Yeah, I'd eat his ass up on that one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's one that, as a comedian, I just look at that and think, it's funny, it's got wordplay, it's got an image to it. I'm just thinking about, a dinosaur with an afro.
Right.
Big Jackson 5 style afro. And I think that's funny. And my older son in particular has seen the reaction I've gotten from material like that I wasn't trying to write from a place of ignorance or misunderstanding.
Yep.
I'm trying to make people laugh with something that I think is relatable. We've all seen certain images, and I'm melting them together in kind of a funny way. But with race in America, as kids, and my kids are still young, my oldest is 12, and my youngest will be 8 in about a month.
Oh, okay.
That they teach the melting pot scenario versus the salad bowl scenario. Versus in a melting pot, things get boiled together to where they're one uniform color and texture. While in a salad, which I don't really relate to the salad scenario because I'm a chunky guy. People don't look at Charlie and say, oh, salads, right. You have a lot of experience with those. But in a salad, you can see the different pieces working together. You can see the lettuce and the tomato, or in my case, the cheese and the croutons and the ranch dressing coming together. And I want to be able to raise children that can see, you can speak your mind and say something that you think is funny and interesting after you've examined, one, is this funny to everybody? Two, will it make people uncomfortable? And three, is the only reason I find it funny because it will make people uncomfortable? Because if that's the case, I'm not bringing anything productive to the conversation. So I want to teach my kids to be productive in the conversation, not just say something that they think is going to get a shock laugh racially, which, I've been doing comedy over 15 years now, and I've gotten a lot of shock laughs. And the whole Malcolm X thing, I think, is a good example because I love that. I used to tell jokes more on wordplay about Jim Crow. Just that the joke was, I don't know if it's racist that I have a pet crow named Jim or that I keep him in a cage. And I thought that was a funny joke about, oh, black people are incarcerated. In my mind, I'm thinking I'm bringing awareness, but I'm not. I'm bringing up a negative idea of black people being locked up at the excuse of, oh, I'm using wordplay. That's why it's funny. Wordplay can still be hurtful. A pun is not as strong as a gun, but it can still hurt.
Yeah.
And I think that my kids have seen me struggle with that, and they will know that, one, because I'm their dad, they hope my heart's in a good place, and they see me every day, and they know that from my mistakes they can learn to be better speakers and better communicators on all levels, not just racial.
Man, this is the most serious you've been this whole time, man. I was waiting for a teardrop to come out. I love you, son. So we're going to switch it over to you, Lemills. And what is it that you hope your kids take away from when you're not here? What racially when it comes to stuff?
I want my kids to use their voice, and I want them to see the importance of using their voice. And using your voice can look a lot of different ways. And so, there's been mention of the Black Lives Matter movement. There's, what the NAACP does or what the Urban League does, or, there's many different groups out there that's doing work. And my kids see me doing work every day. Matter of fact, I get chastised sometimes about, sort of I'm talking to this family about the kid that's in jail. I'm talking to this family about being homeless. I'm talking to this family about, how they were discriminated against on the job. And in all of these conversations, all of these things happened because they were black, or they got unfair treatment because they were black. And I'm not on the corner, with my fist up and doing the Black Lives Matter component. However, I'm 100% supporting the work that they're doing because they're driving attention to make sure that people understand the scenarios of what's going on in Black lives. And then I'm on the background in the cut doing the work, and my kids see me doing that work. And so we're having conversations about this is why I need you to go be an attorney. This is why I need you to go and do an XYZ, because I have all of these cases and issues that I'm working with that they see me doing the work. And so hopefully through the work that I and many others doing, or the conversations that's being had, they'll use their voice to contribute in some way, shape, or form for someone else's rights. And so I want them to walk away with that and seeing that there's no uniform way of fighting racism. But one thing you do is you use your voice and you go to work on it. You don't sit on the sidelines. I think there's far too many people sitting on the sidelines. And so doing that is nothing. It is not where I want them to go. The other piece is I want them to also recognize teachable moments. So we talk a lot about the things that we see and that, things people do. And, there's a lot of clips online about Karens and this and that and the other and so on and so forth. I look at a lot of those as teachable moments. And so Charlie was referring to a couple of jokes. I'm sitting over here cringing but the joke may not have felt good, but what I actually appreciate about it is at some point, someone in Charlie's life had a conversation with him about here's what's inappropriate about that. And that became a teachable moment for Charlie. And so Charlie's like, damn, I didn't think about it that way. But that's not what I meant. And someone else probably said, it doesn't matter. That's not what you meant. That's how it came across to this set of people.
Yeah, I just hear the laugh and I go, I got laughs.
Right.
People understood it and they're not complaining.
And then someone else is like, yeah, but. And so whoever that was that had that conversation with Charlie, that's who I want my kids to be. I want them creating those teachable moments and then also being open to forgiveness. And so, you were talking earlier about the cancel culture. It's like people deserve to be held accountable. And it's typically like, someone's being called out on their shit and they're like defensive. On all of that defensiveness, I want 10 more people to jump on their ass and eat them up because they don't understand the lack of empathy that they've had in that moment. They don't understand how they've hurt a group of people. They don't understand how they've empowered others to be more racist about a situation. They don't understand, their lack of empathy around sexism, around homophobic behaviors, around, whatever the case may be. And so someone has to speak up and call it out. And so I want my kids to be that. I want to see more people doing that. And hopefully driving more non-blacks, especially white people, to have conversations. And I get a lot of questions from white folks sometimes about, so what are we supposed to do? And my most recent and consistent feedback to them is think about the conversations that you're uncomfortable in. So if you consider yourself an ally, with some person or in some subject in your life, there's something that you're like, I kind of tiptoe with that. They don't talk to that person about it because of X, Y, Z, or they don't talk about the subject because they don't know enough about it. It's like, I need you to talk more with those people, and I need you to talk more about that subject because you're uncomfortable with it. And when you get comfortable with it, that's when you've made progress in fighting racism. And so go have those conversations that you don't want to have, because the reality is as a black man, I have to deal with those people every day. I have to deal with those topics every day. And typically it's me being pushed back or being discriminated against or being profiled in some way, shape, or form because no one's had that conversation with those people. So the more white folk get out and the more black folk have these conversations about the lives of the Latinx population and so on and so forth, the more we're having all of these conversations and dealing with the uncomfortable shit, the more we're getting comfortable to say, oh, I didn't get that before. And then you have those teachable moments, and then you're able to come back and say, here's how I'm going to approach that differently to advocate for somebody else. So teachable moments for my kids, using their voice, those are the things that I hope they move from.
Not to throw out a whole nother topic, but because your kids are biracial, do they all look just to the naked eye like they're black, or is there any ethnic ambiguity? That's a big word. Yeah. Ambiguity?
So I have black kids that look black no matter blackity black.
Yeah.
And then I have
shout out to CB4. Great movie.
Right.
So I'm blacker than black, and I'm black, yo. And I'm blickety black.
My son's like, what is he talking about?
Yeah.
But then I have, so actually I'll use the example of my 15-year-old son and my 12-year-old son. My 15-year-old son is a darker complexion than my 12-year-old son. And my 11-year-old daughter is like right in the middle of them. But my 12-year-old son is he's a fair complexion. He's lighter. And, we've already had the conversation, like, just based upon that light complexion of yours, things are going to be a little bit better for you.
You're the Steph Curry of the family.
And he has like hazelish eyes also.
Double Steph Curry power.
It's like, right? Yeah. And it's like, and it's like colorism is real. And we were actually just having the conversation the other day because we were looking at high schools. And we're looking at, like, literally we have conversations about, okay, what's the diversity of the teachers in the high school? How many black teachers do these high schools have? Because when my kid gets into a discipline situation or simply needs somebody to talk to that actually connects with what's going on with him, we want somebody to actually be able to be there in that school. They can say, yo, bro, I've been there, I've done that, here's what's going on. White folk got that all over the place, right? And so it would be good to have that. But then the next question was what's the discrepancy in terms of exclusionary punishment, i.e., expulsion, suspension, and everything else that happens with the black students on campus versus the white students on campus? Because I want to know that. Because I want to know when it comes time to say that the black kid in class was misbehaving or acting out of line, what are we going to do with that kid? Versus, the white kid it happened to, and we do something very different.
We have Breakfast Club. I don't know if you saw the movie Breakfast Club. That's white detention. We hang around. We teach each other dances inside of a library. That's traditionally what my people do.
And so we have those kind of conversations so that they can actually engage and to understand, here's how I'm being treated. Here's why I'm being treated that way. And let's force the other systems to actually have to deal with that. So, but yeah, we have that colorism in the family, and it's different. Actually, you can see the pictures of them over there. Oh, I'll turn around.
Boy Charlie Murphy, my main man Rick James. That's the one you think, the comedian Rick James. Get up.
I can't hear my neighbor crying, I can't breathe.
Please hit the subscribe button down low so you can see all new clips, all new episodes coming to you.